just want to, since it came up today, talk through the termination question again. So the way that this program works, right, is that the money that Congress authorizes goes to the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department makes a loan or an investment into a special purpose vehicle created by the Fed. And then that special purpose vehicle, in turn, makes loans to the public or to Main Street businesses. Is that right, Mr. Secretary?
As it relates to the Fed facility, that is accurate.
Okay, so basically there's a two-step process here. There's a Treasury investment into a SPV created by the Fed, and then there is a set of loans that goes from the SPV to the public. Now, what the CARES Act says is that after December 31st of this year, there can be no new investments with that money by the Treasury Department. So how do you get from that text to saying that there should be no new loans by the Fed using money that's already been invested by the Treasury Department?
So, Mr. Commissioner, and again, I'm happy to spend as much time as you want on this. The Treasury put up 100% of the equity in the SPV, okay? That SPV is owned by the Treasury Department. That SPV is governed by a term sheet and an LLC agreement. So our view is that the requirements are both direct and indirect, so that, again, and let me just be clear, you've described an alternative reading. So if one viewed that alternative reading, that would have meant that I could make $500 billion of investment on day one. And if you believe that reading, that would mean that there would be no December 31st date. I would say that's just a preposterous interpretation. If that had been the case, Congress never would have put in the December 31st. Your reading, which certain people have read, is an obvious loophole, okay? Again, if someone else wants to take that reading, which I think is not the legal interpretation, they can do that. I'm not going to do that. I was trusted by Congress with $500 billion. Lots of Democrats came out and said, how could the Treasury Secretary have a slush fund? I will responsibly read the letter of the law as interpreted by me and my general counsel and fulfill the obligation. And by the way, if Congress wants to extend these programs, Congress has every right to do that. Now, I would also just add, because Senator Toomey was the person who I believe asked for the amendment to be put in, and Senator Toomey, I'll let you speak, but in our conversations, you were concerned that someone could somehow or another interpret a loophole that was not intended of what we negotiated, and I think it was a belt and suspenders. It wasn't an acknowledgement that that was the right reading, but Senator Toomey, I'll let you speak for yourself.
Well, I want to let Commissioner Ramamurti finish his time if you'd
Thanks,
like, and then I will respond to
Sure. I mean, look, what you, number one, it seems like what you are saying that it is a valid and credible reading of the statute to read it, the alternative.
I'm not. I want to correct that. I have never said it's valid. What I'm saying is, if that's your reading, okay, which certain people have said, I'm not saying it's valid. Matter of fact, I want to be on the record. I think it's invalid. Our general counsel thinks it's invalid. Every single Republican on the Senate Finance Committee that was involved in this thinks it's invalid. Again, it would be if one takes that interpretation, it would have to be an obvious loophole. That's what I'm saying.
So look, I think what you call a loophole, I would call the plain reading of the statute, and I think that
Mr. Commissioner, were you involved in the drafting?
No, but look,
okay.
the whole point of this.
Have you got outside legal counsel that advised you on the drafting?
Yes, I think there have been several law professors who have looked at this.
Just as you've asked for us to have a memo, we'd be happy for you to get an outside legal opinion, send it to us. I'm happy to have my general counsel review it and respond to you.
Okay, look, my point is that there have been several finance lawyers who have looked at this language. Look, they weren't in the room, but that's why we look at the text of statutes, not congressional intent. I hear that from my Republican colleagues all the time.
You acknowledge it would be a loophole?
No, I don't. I hardly think it's a loophole. I think it makes complete sense for Congress to create a program that says
Well, why,
After-
if there's a December, then what was the intent of the December
Sure,
31st?
I'll
date?
explain what I think is a reasonable interpretation of the statute. As of December 31st, the Treasury Department cannot create new facilities with this money that was allocated by Congress. Separately, Congress said in the very same statute that the money remains with the Treasury Department until 2026, at which point it goes back to the general fund, which to me indicates an intent of Congress that the money should remain available to the Treasury Department up till 2026, which to me contemplates this program existing well past 2021. That is in the statute. And I think that if you look at the Fed's response to your letter asking for the money back, it's quite clear that they don't agree with your interpretation of the statute either. They are deferring to it, but they said that if it was up to them, they would extend these facilities. So I know I'm over my time, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Senator